The thing I always wonder, though, and
Yeah.
I'd love your thoughts on this. 'Cause
Yeah, for sure.
My little tinfoil brain gets tingling
Oh,
sometimes.
got a thought.
It's like, you know, you see how far back intelligence is intertwined with things that go on south of the border. And I don't know what all that is. Some of that I'm sure
Yeah.
I could understand, though, as messy as it might get.
Yeah.
I wonder if sometimes it.
And so,
they're trafficking people.
oh yeah,
too.
they're doing it all. And we found, and it's in the video, and it's not in the book, but in the video on my YouTube channel, the Thin Green Line Film, you'll see some areas where we go in and you actually see these caves on the ranch that were like stash caves or, rest areas as they were trafficking further into America with the graffiti, the different monikers, looked like just like a cartel grow camp, like in California foothills. And we're hunting one area and coming off a blown stock on an animal, and all of a sudden a border patrol airship comes flying over, a big helicopter, and the ranchers and the outfitters that are our good friends were like, "Oh man, we must have tripped a camera. Something's got to be going on," because they have sensors on the ranch and big cameras. He goes, "John, if he lands, handle this." And I go, "This is perfect." And so I tell Sam, my cinematographer, I go, "You got that?" He go, "Oh yeah, I got him coming in." Because basically we tripped a camera and a sensor.
You got to get the shot.
Got to get the shot. But you know what happened was, man, we're on this camera, this long range camera and this sensor where we're in camo with big long rifles behind us. We don't look like hunters. We look like gunmen.
Yeah.
Because it's a known cartel route. So Border Patrol seeing that. He was the airship, the pilot, Greg, who there's a covert picture, some stuff he's in the book, but he's flying over here, and a bunch of his other officers have just taken down a bunch of smugglers with ATVs on the side of the ranch that we're not, it's so big, we're disconnected. He lands, I go and introduce myself. He goes, "Oh man, we thought we got the image." And I just left them, and I was coming over to see what you're doing. And he didn't know me personally, but he knew this book. He had heard one podcast, I think, beforehand. I didn't know him. Fantastic pilot from little Alpine County there, of down there on the border. We had a hell of a conversation. He said, "Dude, I can't talk about it. You can now. The numbers just coming out of this little part of Texas." And
so this is one of your first, like, unless I'm misunderstanding here, everything you've done is residual effects of what's going on our border because you're working up in California, you're working out in all the indigenous lands, everything you've talked about today.
Yeah.
But it sounds like this is one of your first times where you're actually at the border itself, hearing about where one little trickle in the dam, so to speak, is having all this effect. And you're like, wait, there's 2,000 miles of this too. What the fuck else is going on?
Exactly. Perfectly said. My thing, the reason I wanted to do the first pilot film is it's not just a hunting conservation show. There's 1,000 of those out there, and they're great. That's fine. With my concern over what these cartels are doing as it affects conservation and public safety, the two are completely intertwined. So I wanted to get down on the border and this hunt with these outfitters. And these outfitters literally had cartel gunmen come into their camp one night, and the youngest son, who's one of the outfitters, great guy, ended up getting in a gun battle in an RV and still has a piece of bullet lodged behind his heart that he took fire when these
Behind
guys.
his heart.
Yeah, and that piece will always be there. They
That'll
can't
get
remove
you
it.
laid.
Yeah. The love, the support.
Got a little bullet behind my heart.
A little bullet by my heart.
That's right.
Yeah, I'm good.
Touch it right there.
Yeah. Easy. No, not that side.
Well, he lived.
No, he did. He's married, got just beautiful family.
Good for him.
But the thing about it that blew my mind was, okay, I've been fighting with my team, and we've been fighting the remnants and basically the effects of what's going on or not going on the border. And now I want to see it for the first time. And I had tons of invites, but operationally, I'm not going to leave California. We had our hands full. This is right after. So I'm down there with those guys doing this hunt, making contacts, sharing information of what we're dealing with, keeping everybody a little more in the loop. And I saw it firsthand. I saw the most pristine part of Texas on this ranch being absolutely garbaged and decimated and exploited by cartel traffickers, not just weed, not just fentanyl, not just meth, but trafficking as well, as we were hunting one of the most pristine animals in the most pristine states. Complete contradiction, but showing how much it was an effect there. That part of the Rio Grande River that separated, it was a creek. It wasn't even a river. The parts of it where Jorge talked about getting in with them and they were drowning once a day, that's horrible. And that's a lot of the Rio Grande. But the reason this place is so sensitive is
because it's small here.
it's small. It's February. We're doing this hunt, and you could wade across it like the little creek I grew up on or in my backyard in Montana. So trafficking was easy. Border Patrol was fully supported at that time under the new administration. All the wall materials, the metal and stuff that was laid out to get ready to be built was all there.
But it's not up yet.
Oh, it got taken away because
Yeah.
when the administration shifted, when we had that switch in 2020, right after we made this film, now it just got wide open, and those guys down there were just those border agents.
Yeah. You talk to anyone who's on the border, they were voting one way in this previous election, and I understand that because that's their main issue, and the previous administration was very bad on it. The thing I always wonder, though, and I'd love your thoughts on this. 'Cause
Yeah, for sure.
My little tinfoil brain gets tingling sometimes.
Got a thought.
It's like, you see how far back intelligence is intertwined with things that go on south of the border. And I don't know what all that is. Some of that I'm sure I could understand, though, as messy as it might get.
Yeah.
I wonder if sometimes it spills over, though, in ways that maybe they weren't planning for, that are huge mistakes on their part, that then get stuck in the tit for tat game of Washington, D.C. Do you think there's some of that could occur versus it just being like, oh, the Democrats just want an open border?
I do. I think you're right. I think it's a little bit of both. I mean, I think we're just short-sighted, man.
Yes.
I think there was one objective, and they didn't think of, realistically the escalation of what it would catalyze. I mean, the numbers and the environmental destruction, the public safety problems we've had throughout the entire country since that border policy completely changed. I don't want to believe, forget politics, I don't want to believe that anybody could be that intentionally destructive from a humanitarian standpoint, an environmental standpoint, public safety standpoint. I don't think people anticipated, regardless of party, what was going to be the fallout for the objective of just getting a lot of people here.
Well, I also think, I'll bet it's actually kind of similar in Washington, D.C. Sadly, there's no excuse for this. But when I talk to people who aren't political or are liberal or haven't paid attention to the border or whatever, and I tell them some of the things that I know from my guys who have been on this show on camera and off camera and everything, and then some of the other people I've gotten to know who are down there, they're shocked. And they're like, what?
Yeah.
Because it's a humanitarian crisis and everything. And I feel like, you just had Harris, who was the border czar in big air quotes there.
Yeah.
And she hadn't even been to the fucking border.
She hadn't been there.
Right? I think she went finally when she was actually campaigning. But, like, if she had just gone as vice president of the United States, she'd have access to fucking everything. And just seen it in 2021 or something. Like, you can't tell me that there wouldn't have been a wake-up moment there where it's like, oh, my God, like, all right, we're so worried about, being friendly to everyone that we're actually allowing something to occur that's a total crisis. And let's not lose the 500-pound elephant in the room here. It's important to say this.
Yeah.
There's an aspect of this Trump derangement syndrome thing.
Yeah.
Because, look, there are a lot of negatives about Trump. There are also things, though, that you have to admit he's right about. And I'll tell you, I had, after he won the election, I was looking through some of the old videos from 2015, 2016 when he would go on the late night shows, like Jimmy Fallon, Stephen Colbert, stuff that looks like it's out of the Twilight Zone now.
Yeah, you're like, whoa.
And like, he talks like Trump. He's like, listen, we're going to build a border. We're going to build a wall. Mexico's going to pay for it. Like, he was still like consummate like Trump. And they'd be like, you sure about that? Yes, I'm sure. You listen to the takes, remove some of the simplicity of it. Objectively, he was right.
Yeah.
Like, there's nothing I couldn't, even if he was saying it like a third grader, which actually should be refreshing to a lot of people.
Yeah.
What he was saying made complete sense. And the people who then went against that because they hated him so much, if you run the tape on things that like Obama was saying in 2013, 2014, he was spot on.
Yeah.
But then the difference was this guy with weird hair from New York who was a billionaire who decided that, Obama was born in Kenya. They were so offended by that. And I get that, I get that, that they're like, all right, whatever he says bad, we do opposite. And now they dug themselves into this corner where they're missing the fucking plot, the whole plot of what's happening down there.
Yeah. You just nailed it on the head again. This got to where nobody's perfect. You got to read through the rhetoric, but I look at it this way. Actions, policy, implementation, what did those actions lead to? Did they have a dent? Were they going in the right direction? And you just said it best, brother. Does it make sense? Yeah, it does. Nobody ever said, and people, well, you think that's going to solve the problem, putting up this expensive wall? I go, no, it's not going to solve the problem. But I know from being a law enforcement officer dealing with these guys, and I know how border security is run. I know how the old process was. I'm familiar with it. I've been on the border. I have a lot of friends in those federal agencies and the state agency on the Texas border and talk about it. It's not a stop. It's a stopgap.
Yeah.
It goes so far beyond a wall, but the wall isn't only a stopgap physically. It says a little something, I think, to the American people that, hey, guys, it's not about keeping people out. This is a freaking melting pot. I'm all for immigration. Yes. That's why we're here, man. Greatest country on the planet. We are not one way or the other. Everybody's welcome if they're here for the right reasons, chasing that dream. They don't want to hurt people. I'm good with that. But this is a symbol, I think, with this wall that we care about protecting our country. We care about protecting you as an individual citizen. We care about protecting the wildlife you like. We care about protecting, your children from fentanyl or abduction or whatever. Is the wall going to solve all that? No, but it does make sense. And
it's a start.
It's a good start. And along with education and awareness and all the other stuff that isn't just throw a bunch of force at it, throw a bunch of resources like law enforcement. Yeah, we need more of that. Yeah, there's talk about really ramping up Border Patrol to do what they were doing before. It's going to have to happen. We're going to feel the effects of what has come across this border. I think conservative estimates, a decade to sort it out. But I think you're right. Sorry to interrupt just this one thing.
No, you're good. You're good.
So many people that see the benefits of the policy but hated that man so much.
You're right.
They voted with emotion. And some of my closest friends voted with emotion that I respect and love forever. And I will never judge. I will sit with any supporter of the other side because you know what? We've lost every sense of what this country's about if we start slinging mud at that level. And that's what it's become. Yeah. And it's got to stop.
I'm glad to hear you say that too, because the divisiveness really bothers me. Like I said earlier, the shit moves in pendulums in society. It's how it goes. One party loses their way at some point, and for the better, shit gets a little reset. And hopefully that's kind of where we're at right now. But, if there's one thing that I think Trump did a very bad job of when he was first coming up, and probably along the way, in the maybe you could call it like the rhetoric of this, it's the emphasis. Like, I feel like he never did a great job emphasizing the fact that, hey, our actual immigration system itself of how you legally immigrate is also broken. Yeah. And we need to improve that because, and I know he said this before, he just doesn't highlight this enough.
Yeah.
We want great people coming in here. We, like, everyone, I don't know about you, but the two of us, like, I don't even go 3 generations back in this country, right?
I don't.
We're all right.
We come from France and all other places.
There you go.
Yeah, we're not native to this nation.
So that is what our country's built on. And we want that to continue. Amen. But when you have fucking 2 million people coming across the border in, God, I don't know, a month, a year, whatever it is, like a crazy number of people.
Right.
And you can't vet any of them. All it takes is 10 of those people to be terrorists, and the whole system's ruined.
10 dirty bombs, 10 malls, 10 schools, 10 sporting arena events, whatever. And it just, that's where one thing I do like about the election winning speech that happened late that night, I caught just a little bit of it on the night of the election a couple nights ago, was just that, man, the safety aspect of it. No, we don't have accountability of who these people are. We don't know what they're going to do or not going to do. And we know that how many hundreds on the terrorist watch list were interdicted or processed or seen through. Jorge talked about it. I had the same figure. He and I were talking about that way back when we did the last documentary. It was going on then, 2 years ago. But that has to be an emphasis. But I did hear him say, finally, and you're right, man, it did not get emphasized enough, because the key isn't so much, don't just focus on this, hidden evil, the boogeyman that's coming across. Let's talk about the good part of immigration of the country, right?
Well, he did that in that first speech in 2015. He goes, they're murderers, they're and some, I assume, a good he basically was like, what was Jon Stewart's line? He's like, he basically said, no disrespect to an entire fucking country. It's like, dude, you gotta. Watching the video, guys. If you haven't already subscribed, please smash that subscribe button and check out this clip's full podcast episode by clicking here or in the description below.